What's up YouTube, and welcome to my pickups video for the month of April 2024. Did quite a bit of travel this month and celebrated my birthday at the beginning of the month and went back to Las Vegas, which I was just at a few months ago, and really noticed that the game stores there were just as picked over as they were when I was there in December, so there really wasn't anything to grab that I saw that I wanted to bring back home with me, but did some looking there, of course. Also, the middle of the month, I took a trip to Oklahoma City for work and didn't really have a whole lot of time to do any game hunting on that trip, so came back empty-handed from that as well. And then I just got back from my first ever trip to Richmond, Virginia for a car club meet for my vintage BMW, and got to do a lot of driving on that trip. I think about 2,000 miles total round trip. But was so jam-packed with schedule, didn't get to do a whole lot of game hunting there either. There was actually a really good game store in Richmond. They had some good inventory, they had some weird stuff like TurboGrafx and Sega CD that I'm always looking for, but unfortunately no titles that ultimately I needed on that trip. So definitely tried to get some stuff there, but didn't have any success. So that all being said, this is going to be a very short pickups video because I didn't really find a whole lot of anything this month. But I did make one stop on the way back from the Richmond trip, and about halfway I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and pulled over and went to a game exchange location that they had there, of which it's a pretty big chain throughout multiple states. We just don't have them where I'm from in St. Louis. But did get a game there that I've been putting off buying for quite some time because I've been wanting to get it complete. Ultimately, they had it in the case loose, and I decided just go ahead and go for it now. Maybe I'll upgrade later. But that is Contra Advance, the Alien Wars EX. So this very wordy title is a enhanced version of Contra 3 on Super Nintendo, which is probably one of the stronger titles in the Contra series. And I've heard pretty good things about this GBA version. I just haven't tried it yet since I just got home from the trip. But looking forward to checking this out, and hopefully getting this complete at some road down the way, because ultimately I try not to buy GBA games unless I can get them complete. Ultimately I'm not as picky about original Game Boy, but for some reason GBA, I like to have these complete in the box. So nice to get that, and definitely verified it is an authentic copy because there's so many bootleg GBA stuff out there too you have to watch out for. But the other thing I got this month was, even with all that travel, was actually a local find. One of my local stores got in a rather sizable collection of import games for multiple systems. They had Japanese PlayStation, Japanese Sega Saturn, and ultimately what I was looking for on this trip was Japanese Sega Game Gear games. Very nice collection. There was several complete in box games. They had some of the really high dollar stuff for Japanese Game Gear that was exclusive, like Panzer Dragoon Mini. But that was a little bit out of my price range, as it's a very, very expensive game, and I was well aware of that. But I did stumble on a game that I was very happy to grab, and that is a complete-in-a-box copy of Galaga 91 for the Japanese Game Gear. This is a very convoluted title with an interesting history on it. So Galaga 88 was the arcade game that this was ultimately somewhat based on. And I do actually have an original dedicated Galaga 88 cabinet. It's one of my all-time favorite arcade games. And the game had kind of a weird journey to home releases after that, in that it came out on the Japanese PC Engine as a pretty good version for a home system, but not ultimately that authentic to the arcade. But PC Engine, like I said, came out as Galaga 88. It then came out on the US TurboGrafx 16, but it took a couple years to get here, and so ultimately naming it Galaga 88 would have sounded a little bit dated, so they rebranded it as Galaga 90. And then here we are on Japanese Game Gear, and I guess it was going to take even longer for this version to come out, so now even that sounded dated, and so now it became Galaga 91. The other thing that's weird about this title is we didn't get this in the US for some reason, which seems strange because it probably would have done okay here. But Europe did get this game, and there it's called Galaga 2, which also doesn't make any sense, because ultimately Galaga 2, or if you want to call it the sequel to Galaga, would have been Gapless, not Galaga 88, which is technically the fourth game in the series after Galaxian Galaga, Gapless, and then Galaga 88. So, just giving you a little history lesson on how weird it is that this title exists. That being said, they took some pretty interesting liberties just specifically with this Game Gear version. It has just like a different order of the bonus stages, and some of them are missing entirely. So for example, like the stage 3 where you typically go to a bonus stage is actually the stage 7 in the arcade version that they've made for this. They also changed several of like the interdimension warp stages where you actually scroll through the stage. Very different with different new enemies, things like that. And then some of the patterns and even the standard stages have changed as well. So very strange release overall, I would say. But it actually plays really well, and I think if you're looking for a simple pick-up-and-play shooter for the Game Gear, you really can't go wrong with this. So I am very much enjoying my Game Gear these days now that I've done the modern screen replacement and an updated soundboard and things like that to it. So it really makes these games pop and come to life, probably the way they always should have. But very happy to get this in the collection, and I don't have a lot of Japanese complete in-box Game Gear games, so now it's kind of got me looking for other ones of these that I might want to grab. But that about does it, ultimately. Like I said, it was a very short month of pickups. Definitely tried to get some things over the month, but I'm getting to a point in my collection where I guess just a lot of the things I'm looking for I've already have, or they're so obscure like I can't even find them in retail stores in the US. But that being said, I did actually sell off some games this month, and that felt pretty good too. Just some things that I had sealed and things like that that I really wasn't collecting because they were sealed, so I decided to go ahead and let those go. But now that I've got some funds from all that, maybe I will be doing a little bit more looking in the coming months. So here's hoping May is a little bit better for game finds, but thought I would give you an update regardless. Thank you very much for watching. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.